So today we're going to take a look at what's going to happen if the Kievan Rus reunites in the modern day. This video is going to be very unrealistic. All the events that are going to happen are purely fictional. But yeah, let's see what happens if they reunite in the modern day. Let's see who they declare war on, how they expand and all those other stuff. But yeah, before we get into this video, first of all, I want to mention that major alliances like NATO, CSTO, the EU or the UN, they do not exist in my videos. If they would exist, they would not let these empires to expand. Also, my videos are meant to be unrealistic, so they should not be taken too seriously. They're just for fun. And with all those things said, let's get right into the video now. These borders might not be 100% accurate. I went on the web and this is the closest I got to the Kievan Rus borders. But as we can see, they control a significant amount of land from Russia, also from Ukraine, as well as Poland. They have some parts of Finland too. And for some reason, they have Crimea. So yeah, land-wise, they're doing pretty well. But still, Russia would really not be happy with whatever's going on over here, especially because they have lost a significant amount of territory to these guys. But let's say that the Russians are going to declare war on the Kievan Rus. In that case, these guys would cease to exist, and we don't want that to happen. So yeah, we're just going to pretend that the Russians don't do anything about this. But the Kievan Rus still would have to do something to make the Russians happy, and that something would happen down here in Ukraine. Right after coming back, we can see that the Kievan Rus is going to militarize their country, recruiting more and more troops, and to get themselves out of the Russian threat, they would want to do something for the Russians. And that is basically after a few years of militarization, we can see that the Kievan Rus now declares war on Ukraine. Now the Kievan Rus could strengthen its relations with the Russians if they were to give some Ukrainian territories to Russia, and they're just gonna do that if they were to win this war. So let's see. We can see that the Kievan troops now push down and they cut off Ukraine into two parts. We can see that they push down from here too. These western parts surrender and the troops here push around, securing more and more regions. Now because the Ukrainians had already lost a lot of territory to the Kievan Rus, they don't have their previous military assets anymore. Because of that, these parts are falling like dominoes, basically surrendering. And with all this chaos, the remaining chunks of land of Ukraine go ahead and surrender. This was a decisive victory for the Kievan Rus, but the borders that we're going to draw will also include Russia. But yeah, now let's take a look at a peace negotiation here. And yeah, in a peace negotiation, we can see that all of the eastern parts of Ukraine were given to the Russians. The Kievan Rus also gave up this part of Crimea to the Russians to strengthen their relations furthermore. And now Russia is no more a threat. And with their eastern borders secured, the Kievan Rus can now focus on their western borders, where they would definitely want to expand and form a gigantic empire. But before that, they would still go on and militarize their country, as the war with Ukraine was very costly. Their whole military assets were used in the war. They would also want to have good relations with the United States to import weapons and stuff. The Kievan Rus would kind of like be India in Europe. We know how India is. They maintain good relations with both the Russians and the US. So yeah, that is the Kievan Rus for you guys. And after a few years of militarization, we can see that the Kievan Rus is now ready for their second military campaign. For this one, we can see that they declare war on the remaining parts of Estonia. But the Estonians do realize the fact that the Ukrainians were way stronger than the Estonians here, but still they got clapped by the Kievan Rus. The Estonians would not want that to happen to themselves, so without even a proper fight, the Estonians go ahead and surrender, as there was no use in fighting this war. In a peace negotiation, we can see that all of Estonia got completely annexed. But guys, which city do you think is going to be the capital of this country? I mean, I want to say Kyiv, but then we have St. Petersburg. I don't know which one to pick as the capital. Maybe you guys should comment below. Tell me which city should be the capital of this country or empire. Yeah, let's continue the video. After the Estonian incident, the Latvians and Lithuanians are pretty worried. They definitely know that the Kievan Rus is going to declare war on them. And just to be a little bit more strong now, we can see that they unite with each other to form a bigger, more formidable nation here. Honestly, it's not even that strong, but for now, it'll give them some protection against these guys. This is a Baltic Union right here, but without Estonia. After seeing that these guys are uniting, after seeing that their neighbors are uniting, the Kievan Rus desperately wants to go on multiple military campaigns so that before its neighbors could unify, they would just take over them. And right when there was going to be a union between Romania and Moldova, we can see that the Kievan Rus declares war on Moldova. Pretty unfortunate for the Moldovans, but yeah, now let's see. Unfortunately, Moldova did not have a good military at all, though the terrain was very harsh, but the Kievan Rus still was able to get all of Moldova. and now they're looking even more buff. Now, at this point, after getting a lot of weapons from the United States, and after getting a lot of weapons from the Russians too, the Kyivan Rus is now very strong, and they're so strong that they're becoming a threat to Russia now, but the Russians still want good relations with these guys. So now, after all of this militarization, the Kyivan Rus wants to take out a major country here, and that major country is going to be Poland. Now already they had options to go after weaker countries like the Baltic Union, Romania, Hungary or Slovakia, but they're gonna go after Poland, maybe because they want to have access to the Western European countries. So yeah, now let's see. We can see that the troops from Kievan Rus now enter Poland, and because the Polish are heavily outnumbered, they're unable to push these guys back. Eventually we can see that the Kievan Rus is now making a spearhead towards Warsaw. This goes extremely successful, as we can see that the Polish have now lost their capital city. These guys make another spearhead up north, getting to the Polish coastline, after which these parts go ahead and surrender. But after all of this chaos, we can see that the remaining parts of Poland also surrender, as they were not getting any support from anyone. Alliances don't exist, unfortunately. And now we can see that the Polish too got completely annexed, and the Kievan Rus is now looking even more buffed, and they have the Baltic Union completely surrounded. The Baltic Union too is not getting any support from anyone, and so the Kievan Rus sends an ultimatum to the Baltic Union, basically demanding their annexation. Now the Baltic Union would not accept this ultimatum, but if they would not do that, definitely the Kievan Rus is going to destroy the entire country, obliterating their military and destroying their infrastructure. Now I might be wrong, but I don't think that these guys would want that. If let's say NATO would exist, this would have not been the case, but since it doesn't exist, ultimately we can see that the Baltic Union finally accepts the ultimatum. The Baltic Union has gotten completely annexed by the Kievan Rus, and now the only weird looking thing here is Kaliningrad. But yeah, definitely after the annexation of the Baltic Union, these other countries are really worried now. They're literally worried for their existence. Okay, so after the annexation of the Baltic Union, we're gonna see an alliance taking place to stop the Kievan Rus's expansion. This anti-Kievan Rus alliance starts with Germany. These are the founding members. We can see that the Italians also join in. And the Kievan Rus sees this as a huge threat, a threat to their expansion. Other countries like Sweden and Norway also join in. But before the Finnish could join in, we can see that the Kievan Rus declares war on these guys, purely for expansion purposes. And the poor Finnish, they almost joined the alliance, but it's unfortunate to see that they were not able to. But yeah, now let's see. Immediately we can see that the Kievan Rus's troops now push in. They eventually get to the capital city of Helsinki. They take it with relative ease, and they start to push around, securing the southern parts. These are the main parts of Finland. After losing their major parts, we can see that the remaining parts of Finland go ahead and surrender. But this peace negotiation is going to be a little bit different. The Finnish are not going to get completely annexed, and you're going to see why. In a peace negotiation, we can see that all of these southern parts of Finland were completely annexed. However, the northern parts are not annexed. There is a puppet state up in the north, and that's because the Kievan Rus does not want to have more borders with this alliance. Already they have this border with Germany, so they definitely don't want that again. Countries like Denmark, the Netherlands and Belgium also join in, and pretty much all of Western Europe has joined in on it. All of Western Europe has joined in, and then something very interesting happens. On the border with the Germans, they accidentally fire some missiles. These missiles hit Berlin and some other major German cities. Now, this was a military alliance, kind of like NATO, where if you attack one country, the entire alliance gets activated. So yeah, the Germans are now at war with these guys. But hold on, it's not just the Germans. Yeah, this is the case. We can see that pretty much all the Western European countries have declared war on the Kyivan Rus. But yeah, if this video gets enough support, I'll definitely make a part 2 on this video. Yeah, this is the Kyivan Rus at its peak for now. So this is gonna be it for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and tell me what you guys want to see in the future. And thank you for watching.